So, hi everybody and welcome back to this full game tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 13 and in this video we continue with our coding, with our scripting of our widget. But before that, let me show you something more. First of all, how much time I have, because I said I make a game in 40 days, and which means before this game jam here from Epic starts, I won't be finished, and then we can join this Epic game jam. You can join, I join early to get the free assets. And you should join, it's a very good motivation, and let's see how much time I have to finish there. I will join too and make a video as well, but again a very short game only because I have no time. I said this already. You should definitely join and try it for real. That is a good chance to prove to yourself. But I go, it's on the top here now. Okay, was all time on bottom, so you can see here on top. Here it starts here around this day, 25, 26, between that. But when you click on it, then you can see exactly when it starts. So I have time here around 10 days to finish this game what I started. But I make a super little game, you know it, and you should join here. Don't forget to join. This is a good motivation for absolute starters, and you see what you really can do in 7 days, which means you use all your knowledge. And of course, you use more knowledge than what I show you in this game, because this game is a very simple game, but it's still a full game which we will release. And yeah, so let's continue. That was just 10 days I must finish, and I work not all day through, of course. I work only some hours here with this video, and then that's it. When you go to this jam here, then you will probably work the whole day in the 7 days, which will cost much energy. So plan this also that you will probably really be exhausted, and plan also after this jam some rest days so you get cool up. And yeah, with that said, let's concentrate us here now to our game, which is we finished the design a little bit, and we tested it. I showed you that this in the last video. I project this, I tested this in my final date, and I want to show you as well that of course I created now 2 repositories, which means one for my development account, which is here this mobile game component. There I develop and test normal. Then here I have the other repository where I have this final data in. And the reason why we need this is last time when I tried to migrate files, it worked not because there was already an existing file. And one way to solve that, there are other different ways, but one way is just delete the file which you want to migrate before you migrate it to this final process. And that's why we need this GitHub here as well, which means before you delete anything, you should all time commit to all your files first, and then you can delete it, because if something goes wrong, you have it here committed and you can recover it. That's why I have these two repositories which we can use for recovery, of course, and so on. All right, with that said, we can go one step further. Let's go for our planning. You know, I make a very simple planning actually, and my super simple planning look what I did here is just one file. I showed you this. This is my overview, which means I made it so simple that it's straightforward. Don't waste time too much. Here you can see we are still in this block, this first block where I create the main menu widget, and later I go here gameplay after this one, and then quit is almost yes, there is also some functionality which is important, perhaps depends, and later the goals and so on. You can see the goals are more integrated as well in gameplay. So you can see normally I have here more this big block, this big block, and this are integrated here, and this quit is for save game perhaps integrated as well here, more or less this gameplay here, and perhaps later a end block. I don't know if I make a end sequence and something like that, because my game is very tiny. You should have probably a better think so. And then that was our overview. Overview means just I point my finger here and said, here I am, I'm not finished. And then I go to a little bit more detailed view. I said you make a list. I updated my list, and you can see this block here on top we finished, and I started here this block here, which is my list. And I use again the Scrum technique, you know, I give me a time. We finished this design here, that was also finished, but this time you can give your own. I make it a thumb rule, not really planned rule, because I want not stress myself too much. But of course you can plan this out more if you want, but then you have more stress probably, but more pressure. Anyway, then here you can see now we are on Widget Blueprint, which is the production. So I have the track, so my head is set up. I know what to do. So this one I have to finish this one. Of course you could make here something like a check mark as well, what you have check, but I know that I'm here because I make it from the order from top down, and I know where I stop most time. I stopped here and finished that one, and now I'm here. So you can do this. So here in this video we want to make the production, not production, the blueprint, the scripting of the widget. Let's open up the widget, which is here. I already did something here for test purposes, and let me open up first the widget. The widget which I have made, you can see, is this one. It looks almost similar, I think. Should be look similar. Yes, it looks similar here. And now after I'm finished, I want now, of course, make the functionality. But here, very important is, because I copied this widget from this test site, he made a widget which is more or less two widgets in one. Why I say that? Because this main menu widget, more or less, which is here, this one here, is just, you can see it, is just a pause menu holder and integrated in the gameplay widget as well. So with other words, he made it so that he can use this widget for both gameplay and main menu. So I'm even creating here two widgets at the same time. But we will concentrate us on the main menu widget, which is actually this, and this other functionality for this points, and this I make later for when I program the gameplay, because right now this is a mixture a little bit. He made it, I'll try to make it a very efficient way in this little example. And you can see this is not so simple like it looks. What I mean, let me show you what he did. By the way, he updated this one. So this Endless Runner Creator version 3 is available on the marketplace for free. You can, and for Unreal Engine 5 you can see it, and when I start, it starts normally so, but you can see he made here many different kind of runners. That's why he made a more complicated update version than what I want to make. This one I wanted to make. You can see this one looks very simple. And the problem here is it looks simple. For a starter, it is not so simple when it's not explained. And let me show you what I mean with simple not explained. So let me open up that what I made. Like I said, this one is that what I copied, but you can see it's updated. And let me show you this as well, where you can find this if you are interested. And by the way, one more note here, like I said, widgets are normally, till now you have probably programmed already your own widgets and use them as a resource, right? Or if you don't have, go to example projects like I did, or other example projects, and most of them has widgets. But the problem is to understand these widgets. Yeah, that's the biggest problem probably, because the Lyra game has a widget which is also very complicated. I don't know if all starters can understand it, but there are other places too which are more simpler. You should go for YouTube or for any other documentation page where they show how to create a very simple widget. And important is they should explain that for if you're a absolute starter. And here, let me show you this one as well. You can go here to the marketplace, go here to this search button here, right here, for example, menu, enter it. Of course, there are many paid things, but we are starters. We don't want paid things at start because we want just try out more. Then you can click here this free, and then you can see here are also careful if these are all widgets or menus, but sometimes if you are lucky there is a menu builder carousel, for example, or a radial widget or something like that. You can check this out if that is for you, or give here main menu, perhaps other widget menu, or write other things here, perhaps it pops up something else. And yeah, this kind of stuff you should check out. This one is even less. Anyway, you will understand what I mean, right? And then you get these free menus and can check out, and then you see if you can use them. And here, for example, this one here is also a little bit more advanced. This one, for example, looks not bad. For example, you can see this is a selector here. And then you can see they have more options. So if you make a more complicated game, not so a simple game like me, for example, a little bit more a desktop game, because these desktop games are most time a little bit more advanced, and if you want, then you can use something like that. But important is you should learn this before the jam starts, or if you make your own game, learn it and save it in a resource file. Resource means all time reusable, so when you use it again, perhaps you can use this one again and change here and there something, and then you know what it is. So that enough talk about that. We go and continue. You can see this is the widget what he made, and I said now I need to understand the functionality. And the problem about his widget is because this game here, we saw it, right? I started this one. It looks super simple, but the widget system is not so simple. I said to you before, right? So let's see why it's not so simple. Here is his widget, right? And now you try to understand his widget. Of course, you need knowledge. And even for a simple game like that, when I go here to the graph, this looks a little bit simple, that's cool, but not so simple, that's bad. What I mean with that, for example, you see before I kicked here something out because I said I don't need in my game, I need just this quit and a play button here in the middle, so I changed this. But when I go, for example, resume game or restart or whatever, here you can't even say where is the play game, and so then we have to check this out. And then the problem starts here. If you are a starter and you have no idea what this envelope side is, that's a problem. So you need to analyze a widget. If you analyze it, let's say you need knowledge about blueprint scripting, right? Because first of all, you need to know what this sign here is, what this one is, this coding and all kind of stuff. This, if you don't know this, you can't analyze it. Analyze means you want use, for example, like me, I want use his widget. And if I am a starter and I have no idea what he's doing right now here, then I have a problem. But like I said, then you should rather use a YouTube tutorial where they explain all the steps, all the programming parts, so then you can create this one and then modify it to design and then use it. That's one way, or a documentation page where they show all. And if you have knowledge like me a little bit, so then you can go here and say, hey, I want to use your widget, but like I said, I modified his because it was his complicated. And then we have this problem here. Let me show you one more problem, because his widget is not so easy, I would say, because my widget is much more easy what I want make. And what I mean with that is, for example, he used interface. Of course you need to understand this interface, but interesting in this interface is we know we have just to find this caller, and it says here the target is here there. It says here BPE game mode is the interface. Okay, let's open up this. Is there here not refresher node? Can I open up this here directly? No, I can't. Oh, okay. I can only open up the interface, but okay, let's call the game mode here, which means I go here to the vertical runner, Probably in Blueprint. I could write it here too, but I think it's here. Here is the BPE game mode. All right, here is this game mode, what he has. And then you try to understand. And look what he has here. Now he is using what? If you're a beginner and don't know what this one is, it's most time just a parent, which means this game mode is a child blueprint, which means if you want edit this one, and that's new in Unreal Engine 5, you can go and edit here this one new, or what you normally do is, okay, I want to check this interface right here. This interface is not there, but here is inherited, which means I have to go again one class up, and to go one class up, what we do, we go to this symbol here, browse asset, open up, and then we have here more things, and all this kind of stuff is inherited. So you need to know what I inherit means, because you will see in a moment that this envelope can make a little bit of a problem and you don't know what it means. Let me just show you this as a demonstration. We will then go and I will show you my solution, so I will not, of course, waste your time. I already waste timing a little bit analyzing this one, so that's why I just showing that what I already made in my offline time a little bit. And here you can see, okay, we go to the class again, and here again, no implementation. We learned something like interface. There should be an added interface, but you can see it's still not added here. It is inherited, which means I have to go to the parent class again. Okay, let's go to the parent class and let's go in, and here we should find it. We go here to the class settings, and indeed here is our add. Here is this baby emote add, and here on the left side we should find this interface, and here we have interface, but the problem is later you will see it. At least in the other version was it so. This one here, this current game state, and interesting is what I figured out. I don't know if he really used that game state. I thought he used that game state here, but this game state was just a randomly created game state, so not the game state from the... I'm not sure. I have not. I watched it only a little bit. If I think he just used a randomly created game state called a variable game state or something like that. Anyway, that's not important. Let me show you what's more important here is here we try to understand how we implement this one here. This is so the first step normally. So to see, hey, what is doing here? So and then okay. It says here, get current game state. Okay, I found the final place, and now here are the interfaces. Now I need just to find get current game state, right? So, and I go down, and then get score. Okay, get current game. Oh, he implemented indeed here. Okay, this one is cool, because the other version which I had, this version 4. I don't know. This one is for version 3. Here he implemented it indeed in game mode base, but in the other version, when you check this up, he made something like an override, not in the final place. He overrided here this game state, what you can see here, actually here in this place. Set game state, and actually it was an override. So with other words, something like this one here, this called this little arrows here means you have override anything which was perhaps also here. Normally you would search it here, and if you don't know what an override is in beginner, then you have a problem, because then you are said, hey, where is the implementation? Let me click this one, for example, call game paused here. This call game paused is override. I think this one is anywhere called here as well. You can see here, call game paused is not used here. It's used here, but let's see if it's the target place there. The target, it says BPE game mode, right? It says here just again our BPE game mode, which would be BPE game mode. Yes. But the problem is when we watched here again, like before, it's not implemented. You would normally go here again to the parent, which was this one, and try to find, what was it? Game mode paused, right? This call, was this one here? pause pressed. No, that was it not. Anyway, you understand it probably. I hope it. Call, I think call pressed. Is here something like pressed? You can see here call pause press. It is here normally, but here is call pause press. Here is the implementation, and that's very important, and this override thing. And then you open up this one, and then you see this implementation, what you really need. So that was just a demonstration how much time you can waste for analyzing, because I analyzed it, and that's why I tell you that analyzing takes time, depends on your skill. If you are very experienced, that can be very fast. If you are not so experienced like me, that takes I took easy 1 hour and more to analyze this one. Okay, but I simplified also my code here because I was just curious how he made this one. And let's do this one. Let me show you this one, what I did. So I used his system here a little bit, and of course I kicked here all out because that was still too complicated. I simplified all this kind of stuff, and let's go to this final place. Is this the final place? Main node. This is not. This is later where I migrate all. There is something else which I want to tell you about migration, but later. So that is that. Now I analyzed a little bit what he did, and then we go to the production. In my case, you can see I have here just a play button, which means I just play, start the game. Then I have to decide how to start a game actually. Normally, and I say it now normally because I made it all time other way. For example, what I made is most time I had a separate level for game menu, and when I play it open up automatically a new level with a separate, not necessarily separate game mode, but with a game mode, and this game mode will start to play and the game is starting automatically. And when I press in this game mode the pause menu or something like that, it's going back to this main menu map. So it is all time switching, and he's not doing this one here. So I said he implemented this a little bit more efficient. So which, with other words, with one map, if you open up this one map, you don't have to switch widgets, which is efficient, more efficient. But of course, yeah, it's more efficient. But of course, you should know this one. In my case, it's a little bit more straightforward. In this case, you have to know how to start now the game and how to stop. Now, enough talk. Let's go to the implementation. What I want to say is I already showed you how you can implement this one with the version which I told you in my tutorial. You just create a new gameplay map, and then when it starts, you use the game mode, and the game mode set up all the things what you need for the gameplay. In this case, we switch to the graph, and you see here a lot. First of all, let's start with the easy one. This quit button is one of the easiest things that exist, which is just you have on, there is one more thing what I forgot to tell you, which I messed up, of course, because I copied here this one here, right? I copied here. The problem is all this naming here I used from him, and when you do something like that, you should probably name them. You can keep the names what he's using, but you should probably name them on your understanding. For example, this buttons here, which I added afterwards, I called now button play here, so that or button quit here, so that I know this when I go here to the graph. Okay, this is button quit on click, and this one is made for desktop PC, because on click, I think on touchscreen you need on pressed, and yeah, I will set up this separately, so that's not important. So quit button, absolute easy setup. We noticed you can use different ways, I figured out, but most time I use this execute console command. Sometimes you can use quit, exit. You have to show which command you use in which places. I just use here quit. I tested this one is working, but there is a node as well, so you don't have to use this console command. You can go for a quit game as well, and this one they integrated it as a can see as a node instead of console command, and here you can select now quit or set background. So here this option you have to read in the documentation, which means you can set something to the background, which means it is still it's not active right now. Background means most time it's still running in the background, not active. In the foreground you run another thing. So that's also interesting, this node. You should check this out. In my case, I don't need something complicated. That's why I need just this console command quit. So this functionality we already tested. That was my test normally, and here when I start quit, yes, that was good. The first one done, very easy. Play is a little bit more complicated. Like I said, normally you can just press play, open up a new level, but new gameplay level probably, set up the game mode there. The game mode is handling all things, initializing what you need, setting up what you need, and then yeah, the gameplay normally can start here. It is already the map which I use, so we had to use here another strategy, which means when the game mode here is cold, because we have here also a game mode, here, this is my game mode, and when this one is cold, the game should start. So what I did here is, this one was my setup, my test setup, I think, but this works. This was just here event begin play of the game mode. There's something like construct and so too. I don't know if for game mode, but we use most time here event begin play. It's, yeah, you can read the documentation when you need construct, pre-construct and all this kind of stuff. But for my super tiny game, we don't need this. So this kind of stuff you already know. When you start the game mode, I create this widget, which is this widget. I added this to the viewport, but at the same time, my game starts here. So I want at the same time that my game starts. But the problem is when the game starts, when the game mode is created, I have a problem. And what is the problem? Here I have show the mouse cursor. This one I should will be changed later. Depends if I need a mouse cursor for the desktop version. Yes, for the touch screen I make here an option, a check if you are using desktop or mobile, but in our case I tested first for the desktop and that's why it's okay. But I think there was one more option for show mouse cursor. I forgot it. I have to check it out. Well, you say just game only or something like that, but later that will work. So important is here now. Here I created something like a set games paused. So at the start state of the game, I called it this one. And this one is needed here because I just use here a one game mode. Oh, let's say it's one solution. I set it just at start paused. Because when I start the game is paused, and when the player press play, it plays. And then he can go, the option menu is gone, and then he can go here to this option menu, because all other things he can't click, most time not, just the mouse here to switch here the game later, and here it pops up again, and then it's again paused. So you see, this is a very simple thing to do. And how I did this, fast explanation, you can see at start I need to set the game paused because I'm not creating a new level, but this one is very efficient as well for my tiny game. And then compile save, and this one is finished. So we have set up the game mode, which says, okay, at start, when this game pops up with the widget, game is paused. Cool. Then that was this section here. And if you are wondering why I make here so a long line, because the reason for that is many programmers would not do this, because they talk you should all the time use functions, and so I prefer this visual representation in blueprints, because when I start at the point, I go here, check this block, I do this one, instead of clicking off all function and jumping into the functions where other place. Here I can just check fast back and forth. This is different from programming, text programming. There you can use functions if you want, because there you have functions jumps, you make a right click jump to function and something like that and jump back and so. But here jump back and forth, it's more time consuming than when I make this kind of stuff. And I know I start here, I just go here, it's faster. Then I keep this one. So just a side note, this is style, this is preference, you don't have to, and if it's anyway too long I will cut this also down, but in general I start here, I watch this, and then go there. So more here. The next thing is, so we have set up the start point, the quit. We have set quit, play. How I set up this play here. Let's go to the play button, and here I have not finished. And here what I did is I analyzed his play, because actually play, you can make it very, very simple. And I wanted to see how he's doing, so I wasted too much time with analyzing. Normally you would do this very fast. What I mean with very fast, you already created probably a tutorial where you have a menu, and then you just use that one probably, or at least you should watch the resource and say, I made this there, so I made this perhaps to here again. So in my case, I analyzed this code. Let me show you what I analyzed here again. It was this was something else. Which is that? Main. This I show you later in a moment. There is something interesting. Perhaps I make this separate, this one. But there is also something interesting. Okay, anyway, I analyzed his code, and his code, like I said, it looks very simple, right? It is not, because he used this here, this interface. I had to go through all these calls of the interface, and then he used this enum. He just created an enumeration. If you know what this is, it's just a user defined type, but this type means you create this this words here on your own, and then you can use this. And most time it is used just like he shows here. It is used in a branch where you check and set this variable. And I use this one too, but interesting is you don't have to. This is just a better solution. You can make this also with variables. And then you can see here, this one here, function. I just copied this one out. So I said, you can see he's using here a lot of functions. And I said, no, that's a little bit too much functions for little things. So for example, this one is really a little thing. In my case, I said I don't put it separately in a function. And here are more functions that he used. Of course, you can see he made, of course, a bigger project. Well, what I mean with bigger is he had more setups. I skipped all this kind of stuff. All right. In my case, so how I implemented a play, very, very simple. My play is just checking when I start here. Let's make a demonstration. My play at start, I have set up the start of the game mode. My game mode set the state of the game here. And actually, careful, we have here a game state, so don't mix this one up. I thought he is using this game state, but I think he just created something like a struct and made just an enumeration. Here is an enumeration. You can see it's just a type the user created. If you want more, you can add here more, and if you want less, you can just delete them what you need. And probably I don't need all what he has here, or I will replace this later and make it shorter, but right now not very important. Anyway, it is just an enumeration. It's a nice solution instead creating variables. So what I mean with variables, you could make here also variables, and then just check if the variable is set for game start. If so, then you can go on, and then yeah, make it. You can realize all kind of stuff what you can see here with variables. It is just checking if your game is at start, paused, or not. So with other words, if your game is at start, in pause mode, or run mode. Only these two states, and we call this here state now. I called it now state 2 because I just copied this one. So I created this state variable, and the state variable, like I showed, it's this enumeration with the different settings. And here we have here this paused or in game. In game means you are in game, and more or less means played, and paused means pause. And the other ones I don't use here. Life loss, but perhaps I will use it later. That's why I keep this one and see. If not, I kick it out. So this one is a variable realization, and you can see at start, when the game starts, I set it to an initial value, which means my game mode set it at start to pause. That's why my variable which I created, which is this enumeration, is here in details panel paused. So I know this. That's very important that you know the start point, because then you can set here, you can use this variable, and you use this variable most time just with a check and with a branch. This is so the normal thing what you do here. You get this variable, which I get here. I created this one here. New variable, not here. I made here a default container. I created this variable. I check if I'm paused at start. I know I am paused. If this is true, execute this code. And this code, what I did here, looks a little bit double. You can reuse this, but I was too lazy. I said, no, that's okay. And then you can set here the state. You see this variable is set now play. This means here in-game means play. And then unset pause because it was paused at start. And here was just this check. This is just this. This is not very important. This is only for development. What I mean with that is when you go here, play here, and I see, you can see this blue lines. This is just to check. Later I kick this out. Definitely don't use that, something like that, in your shipping version. That's very important. In this case I keep it, but right now I don't need it actually, because my check is done. Let's kick this out because my check is done. And you can see here the code what he made in a special function. I don't put in a function. You can put this kind of stuff in a function if you want, but I don't. And the reason I said is just because I can scroll here faster down. So I don't need this check. The other thing what I should do is make comments here so that you can understand this. So you can see this was his function also for this one. This little setter he made also for a function. I think this kind of stuff is wasting a time. So if you have only one setter for a function, I don't know, this kind of stuff is not efficient, but if you have a longer code, it's efficient. And he made here a toggle as well, so he made a lot of stuff there, which is nice to have. But in my case, you can see this is the product. Let's make here a very nice function. Here we said, let's make here, oh, I could here write more things, but let's make here a bigger comment and say here just current state pause, yes, unpause game. That's it, more. I make it here a little bit short so that I don't waste too much time. And here the same thing, it's the opposite. We can make it so that I don't waste too much time and write here unpause game or pause game. Unpause pause game, something like that. So, and here that was this place where post menu holder, and that is the thing what I said you, this second function here. Here, when I start my game, you can see we have here two widgets. And what I mean with that, we have not two widgets, we have one widget, but we use it like two widgets. The first thing, you see the background here, the 0, 1 thing, and so on. This is my gameplay widget, which I want to use. And this play and quit is normally my menu. And normally what we do is, in many games you will see they create, if it's not for efficiency, in separate places, or they hide the other one. In this case, perhaps they would hide the other one and then show this one, and then they show that one and then hide this one. In this version here, he integrated it in a very nice way, I think. It's very cool, so that when you start play, you can see now you are using all the kind of stuff what is here, and then you are going here back. So, and this kind of functionality, this hiding functionality, we are implementing here at this point. And how we do this, I show you this fast. So you can see we have here this widget, this post menu holder, and when you hover over it, you can see it's not I made it, not he made it. It's a vertical box. So it's a vertical box. I put in my childs, which are my buttons here, which means if I hide this vertical box, all this kind of stuff is gone as well. Important is that this vertical box, which you have selected here, must be a variable, because if it's a variable here on top, when we switch to the graph, we have this vertical box here as one of these variables here. You can see it here. And this means we can use now this pause menu holder. This is this one here, and can set the visibility. This is one property, and you can see I get visibility first, and then I set the visibility from this one. You go just out and say set visibility. Then it popped this one out, and if you want make this, make out this. And here, yeah, I have here. Interesting is use visibility. It will set here. Let's see what it's doing here. This one is calling, yeah. Here it will just check if this is visible, and then if it's visible, it will select what it is set here. For example, it will set here how this works. I hope you know how this works. Normally you get here this one if it's true, which means if this one is true, we make here it is set true even, so there's no problem. Sometimes it is converted to 0 and 1, but in this case it is true and false, so there is no problem to understand this one. If it's true, then it becomes hidden. If this one is false, for example, this one becomes false, then this one becomes false, and then it sets visible. It's like a toggle here, right? That's why we can call it one time with this one and one time with that one. Right, let's make here a comment. It's yeah, perhaps not very good explained here, but you can, yeah, I hope you understand it. It's not too difficult. So let's write here set visibility of menu I write this all time normally big of menu. I have no problem later to see what big is or not. So, and yeah, that is setting up the width. Let me show you what this is really doing when I start the game. You can see when I play, I'm in play mode, but I can't click here the option menu because it's gone. I have to use now this one, and when I have to use this one, first of all, I click this play, this one disappears, this one, because I set here set visibility, and the visibility means this toggle box here, this menu box is gone, and you can see it's gone. And to get it again, we have to click this button here, and this button here is this here, this option menu. But we can click it only one time, I think. Perhaps did I make this so? I don't know, but I hope that, for example, I can click it one time, so you can see if I click it more, it's not really working. It's nothing doing. And then I have to set this one and this one again. But let me show you why how I have to set it one time. So you can see here when I click this pause menu in game, it says if it's playing here. The reason why I can do it one time is here I have this check with this enumeration right here. It checks if it's running, which means, let me show you this one. So here it's not running because this check says if it's running, I will give here a true. If it's not running, I will give a fails, and if it's a fails, it says I will do nothing. And at this point, it is not running. So when I click here, as much as I want, it will go here. But when I go here, play, now I can click here because this one becomes true. This one is anyway gone because it is set to invisible in this case. So I can't click here anything on top. I can still click here, but here it's now in the play mode, and here becomes true. It sets here set current game paused, and then it sets here the visibility. This is a toggle, right? It's just toggling here between this one, and this works. So that was anyhow my simplified version of this one. You can see I made just this one here, and of course oops, sorry, this is okay, this is finished, with other words. And what you can see here behind the scene, one more word, is a test setup. Again, why I made this test setup? Because without this test setup, I could not see if it's running anything. I wanted to see if it's really paused. You could use this string there, what you see before, which I kicked out. But the problem is here, this one is falling, and I want seed, and here I have not set up a player start, so we have still missing, but we are not at this place. I mean, we are here in widget mode, not in gameplay, so I set up this player start later and so, but right now I want to test it to see it. If my widget is working, this one is a strange test. Here I have to go here anyhow, so you can see here on top. If I play, it falls and I can stop. Here it is, the cube is here and it can play and it falls again. So the gameplay is working, it is paused at start. So I tested all this kind of stuff, which means after you test this code, you should kick out this kind of stuff normally, but I still keep it right now. I have added just here directional light and this one. This is test code. Test code means never use it later, but in this one is anyway my development account, which means here I can, and this means the functionality is stopped, but there is some more things to talk, but I talk about this one in the next video. I wanted to only show you, and here the general idea is this one. What I made is very simple. You can see this is the setup of my functionality of my widget, at least without the gameplay, so don't mislead with this one. This is gameplay widget, so like I said, he integrated here. The only thing what I made here is this play quit, and this one is my menu widget, more or less. That's cool, but simple game. And the more time waste I had with analyzing the code, I'm honest, because I wanted to see how it is, but normally you don't need to analyze if you already have follow our YouTube, follow our documentation, and then just made this, and you probably have this resource. So I wanted just see it and what he did, and yeah, to make more resource, to create more libraries where I can, for example, this one here, I can create now about this widget, what I created here, a library. A library means all time a resource to reuse later in another project, and I will make this, but not now. This one I make separate, again, not when you are trying to finish a project or something like that. You put this in tasks which are not included in core tasks. Like I said, my core task is, when I go down, now we are concentrating only on core task, which is design is finished, widget blueprint is finished for widget per functionality, but I want to talk there a little bit more. I want to show you something which I have not shown here, but not functionality. The functionality is finished, so I would go here, finish, and then we would jump in my overview, because this one would be finished here. I would go to this gameplay next, and then I have to define what I want there later to do, and I would start probably with widget or game player character or environment or whatever, sound perhaps. You can add here many things, depends on what you need, but only core systems we will add at start, and all the creative stuff like all time later. So with that said, I will stop this video here. In the next video we will continue. I will show you a little bit performance things, because there was something very interesting about performance. But that would take too much time in this video. So with that said, if you have any questions, any complaints, like all time, write it in the comments. Tips and tricks also, because yeah, it helps not only me. Yeah, it helps not only. It helps other people too, right? Who are watching this tutorials and read the comments and so on. That's why. With that said, have fun like all time. Good luck and never give up. Bye.